Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now.
Everyone, and welcome to Unity of London on this fine Sunday morning, starting with a nice drink for all the crops so that the farmers are happy and those of us that like to eat are happy as well. It's a fine day. And at Unity of London, we affirm the same vision statement as almost all of the unities worldwide, and we'll affirm this together once we get to the next slide. And we envision a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Oh, there we go. Okay, so a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And we have an announcement this week, and that is the start of our spirit groups. Spirit groups are small groups, but they're a specific way of doing small groups. And Unity of London has joined in with an organization called Spirit Groups to start our small group ministry and thrive through that. So we're going to do our first pilot group, and that pilot group are people that would be potentially interested in perhaps being a leader of a small group or a spirit group moving forward. So our first group will start fairly soon, sometime this month, just as soon as I get enough people to start a group. And so those of you that are interested, contact myself. You can also, of course, email Unity of London, and Hilda or Larry will forward your name on to me. But I also encourage you to, if it calls on your heart to be a small group leader, check out www.spiritgroups.org to get a better understanding about spirit groups. But it's about growing our congregation, our community through small group ministry. And now we'll get ready for prayer. So I invite you to settle into your chair and also consciously settle into your heart space. Let go of any tension you might be holding on to, and just focus on this moment, here and now. Feeling your heartbeat and noticing your breathing. And as together as a community, as we connect with Spirit, Divine Mind, we bring into our prayer circle all spiritual gatherings that are happening today. For there are many paths to the one and only Divine Mind. We hold in prayer all the people that cannot join us today, those who might listen later. And we hold in prayer all of the leaders of the world today. For as we go through these changing times, decisions have to be made, and sometimes very quickly, and we see our leaders, in particular here in North America, but really all over the world, making decisions with their heart, a loving heart. We know that in all of this, sometimes chaotic, what appears to be a chaotic mess, within all of it is Divine Mind and order. I invite you to take a few moments and whisper the name of anyone else you'd like to hold an additional prayer. And we prepare now with our minds and our hearts open to be changed, transform, have a deeper understanding in some way, shape, or form of our co-creation and our connection with Spirit through the music, through the lesson, through the fellowship, and sometime continuing on throughout the entire day. We do all this, and we spend this hour together, hour and a half, whatever time we spend, it's all in love, and so it is. Amen.
And now I'm going to read from the Daily Word. I am grateful for the good in my life. Today, I take time to appreciate the abundance that surrounds me. I notice the beauty of the natural world, the talent and dedication behind the music and art I enjoy, and the skill and commitment of the people who work to maintain a safe and orderly world. The more I focus my attention on everything I have to appreciate in my life, the more I notice even more blessings. I am eager to share the gift of appreciation, so I give my full attention to someone I care about as we share a meal or a favorite activity or simply a quiet moment together. Feeling grateful for my life's blessings, I feel renewed appreciation for the love and beauty that enriches my life. From Luke 10:23, then turning to the disciples, Jesus said to them privately, "Blessed are the eyes that see what you see." And now it's time for our message. Our speaker today has been a devoted member of Unity of London since joining in 2012. Along with Sylvia Vanderhook, Pauline is a member of our spiritual leadership team, and what a dynamic duo they are. Today, Pauline's message, titled Willful or Willing, is bound to be excellent as usual. Please welcome our own dear, positively Pauline Duncan-Thrasher.
Share screen. There we go. Oops. Big question. And this was from dear Eric Butterworth. How can we tell the difference between divine guidance and human will? If you're anything like me, you might recall way back when you were a child, maybe you were in school. I kept hoping that just by coincidence, my will and God's will that the nuns kept referring to in reverent tones would somehow coincide. It happened occasionally, but not as often as I wanted to. Eric Butterworth, in his wonderful book, The Flow of Life, In the Flow of Life, talks about the answer to this question. He didn't ask it, but a lot of people do wonder it. Maybe you do. You're saying, well, it's all well and good to talk about God's will. What about my will? And Eric Butterworth says to us, the question implies a duality, divine will, my will. Something contrary to my personal desires would be God's will. But as he explains, divine guidance is not an exterior force acting on us. It's the seed of the Christ in us, seeking to fulfill its pattern in our ongoing process of life. And he says, I laughed when I read it. Of course, willfulness can be a problem. Oh yes, it can. When we want to do something that we want to do and it may not be logical, may not make sense to anybody else, may be totally out of the realm of what we should be doing. And we just go ahead and barge forward and do it anyway. I've done that a few times. Maybe you have too. And that's part of growing and learning, I think. The first step in prayer is to let go of ego, to give consent to the flow of the universe, which will indeed lead to lots of peace, harmony, and even adventures. So what is will? Well, in our book, Discover Your God-Given Potential, we learned that will determines the movement. Occasionally I had students with no will to learn, and they didn't move much. They didn't do their homework. They didn't participate in class. So their movement was almost infinitesimal. A couple of phases of will. As stubborn as a goat, or ready to get my way, no matter what. With will, we're able to do the following. We get to decide our direction. We get to command, and maybe the command's a fist command, or maybe it's an open-handed invitation. We lead. Are we tyrannical leaders or democratic leaders? We determine. And the word choose is not on there, but choice is a huge part of this whole process. With will, we do that. With understanding, we determine our direction. The two working together are wondrous. Understanding and will together allow us to achieve our dreams. To focus our attention on good allows us to strengthen our mind, body, and spirit. Will is like a muscle. And if you saw my little muscle, you'd say you haven't been practicing much. But willpower is like a muscle that allows us to hold on and let go. Spiritual understanding allows us to know how much to do of both. Last week, Dan and I watched a movie. We watched two movies, actually. One was about a runner. The other was about a baseball player. And I chose to put this wondrous person in this slide because to me, he really practiced both will and understanding. Jackie Robinson. If you haven't seen the movie, try to see it. Jackie was a wonderful young baseball player. And Branch Rickey, who was the co-owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers, knew that he needed to integrate a Black player, but he needed the right person. As he said, I needed a man who wouldn't fight back. Now you might say, well, of course he wouldn't fight back. He loves to play baseball. What's the big problem? Oh, there was a huge problem. Because Jackie Robinson's fellow players and the fans did not want a Black man in either the minor league or the major league. He was taunted. He received death threats for many years from the beginning of his inauguration as the first African American in a major league. Fellow Brooklyn Dodgers said that they wouldn't play with a Black man. And it was only Leo DeRoche who came in at Branch Rickey's instigation who said, you will play with him. He's a talented player. I don't care if he's zebra colored. Jackie Robinson had a temper. And for his first few years, he promised Branch Rickey that he would not fight back. Can you imagine how difficult that must have been? There was one game that he played, and he played against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Philadelphia Phillies were absolutely against Black players. At first, they didn't want to play at all because they knew Jackie Robinson was on the team. This was his first season. And in this game, the manager of the team, whose name was Chapman, and his players hurled slams, slurs, racial epithets at Jackie Robinson. He didn't say anything. He kept playing. In fact, that game, the Brooklyn Dodgers beat the Philadelphia Phillies. At the end of the game, Chapman came up to shake Jackie Robinson's hand. And this is what Jackie Robinson said later. He did shake his hand. There were times after I had bowed to humiliation, like shaking hands with Chapman, when deep depression and speculation as to whether it was all worthwhile would seize me. He had to stay in segregated hotels, eat substandard meals when the rest of the players were being dined in more lavish spots. In a game divided by color, he made us see greatness. So the next slide indicates what he did for a lot of other people. You can see the young fans in the top left, both all white. They didn't see his color. They saw his talent. They saw his ability. They accepted and admired him. His fellow Brooklyn Dodger players eventually did accept him, they who had threatened to not play with him. And on the top right, you can see fans who came out because here was a Black man who was finally in the major league. He changed the world, not just the baseball world. And he did that by combining will and understanding. We're not all baseball players. I'm scared of a ball. When someone throws it in my direction, I head for the corners. But we are in life, and we get to stand up for what's right. Divine guidance has been described as a wisdom. Do you ever just stop and sit quietly and wonder how you're going to solve some problem? It could be health, it could be career, it could be an issue you have with your spouse or a friend. It could just be, how do I get through this isolation? Divine guidance is also a light at the end of the tunnel, a hope. It's a supportive flow. A supportive flow that enables us to see the road ahead. We have come to Earth with divinely inspired intentions and purposes. There may be yet intentions and purposes that you haven't fully expanded. That's exciting. The Daily Word in 2012, yes, I saved it way back to when I joined, said this: I let go and let divine life fulfill itself in and through me. God and me. And this is the difference between when we were children, and maybe like me, you thought, oh, big God out there, he's got his will, what chance do I have? We know better. Now we know that God is in us. He's on our side, or she. Divine presence is part of who I am and who you are. God in me is my path to freedom, abundance, peace, and harmony. And if I start to become mired in doubt or fear or anxiety, I'm blocking the flow of God life. Letting go opens me to the power of inspiration, insight, wisdom, and love. I let go and I let God, divine presence, manifest as a new adventure. And it can be an adventure that has fun, fulfillment, and excitement. Our desires spring up as reminders of why we came to Earth. Or as directional signals of where we are to go next. And Unity Principle 3 reminds us that God operates in the universe according to the law of mind action, not just mind. If Jackie Robinson had just operated out of mind, he probably would have quit. When he was inaugurated into the Baseball Hall of Fame, it was because he had allowed his wisdom and his spiritual understanding to mesh. And he held back from blowing his temper in times when most of us would not have. The law of mind action requires us to act, not just think. Has anybody ever told you that your head was just in the clouds all the time. Maybe instead of your head being in the clouds, you were in the silence, doing a prayer and saying, I want all my potential to expand. We receive divine guidance when we move closer to who we truly are and allow divine ideas to flow through us as us. This is a very different concept than having someone outside us say, do this, do that. Totally different concept and an exciting, thrilling concept. We are moving closer to who we truly are, and divine ideas are flowing through us as us. That's Ellen Davenport in the 5 Principles. I couldn't resist showing a picture of a teacher, because I think I shared with you once that when I decided to become a teacher, my father, who I'd seen maybe 3 times growing up, quipped, "You're going to waste your BA on teaching ABCs." It's a decision I have never regretted. That was my calling. And it still is. The students are just a little older. What is your calling? Maybe you have another calling that you haven't explored yet. Maybe you are inspiring people right now, but you're not in front of the class. Maybe you showed up today and you might have just waved, and maybe someone who saw you wave was inspired by your courage. The light-filled path is open for all of us. We all have an opportunity to follow our own light. Take time to know what that light is. Take time to feel the bliss of knowing who you are and feeling divine presence flow through you as you. Through you as you. Willful or willing. It's not a dichotomy, as dear Butterworth so wisely said. Divine guidance is not an external force acting on us. It's internal. Divine guidance, our way to finding the light and following the light. May you do that. And now we move into meditation. Well, I don't see the meditation, so there's something I haven't done. Okay, meditation. Okay, well, I'll move into meditation anyway, even if I don't see it. I see Bonnie's smiley face. What a nice woman. So as we move into meditation, I invite you to put your feet flat on the floor. As I said once before, socks or shoes, it doesn't matter, because you're being grounded. You're reminding yourself that you always have the will to be connected. And even if it's thundering and raining, it doesn't matter, because divine light is flowing through us. I'll share just a tiny bit of a poem by Rebecca Gregory. Still silence calms the depths of me. It sets my heart and spirit free and lights those paths which I thought gray and misted as a gloomy day. Within this deepest silence lie the how and when, the where, the why, and all the many answers sought by years of forced and twisted thought. The silence is my stillness, peace, a fragrant, velvet soft release, a place within which I might touch whene'er the world becomes too much. And in the next few moments of silence, you might want to think of that light-filled path, the last slide I showed you, and yourself on that path. And there may be weeds and branches in the way, then you walk over them. But you are in the light whenever you choose the light. Whenever you choose to mesh will and spiritual understanding, you are on a light-filled path. I'll let you know when our time is up. As we prepare to return, know that at any time throughout the day, we can move into our silence. Because I love furry, soft things, I love the poem that talked about it being like velvet. We don't need to stay there forever. And there is a danger in staying in the silence forever and ever, or for big chunks of the day. But we can move into it for brief moments to refresh, to remind ourselves of divine essence within. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Thank you so much, Pauline, for an excellent message again this Sunday, and really today reminding us to be willing to be open and to the divine guidance, and also to be willing to use our power of will to stay focused on the guidance and inspiration that we receive. We'd also like to take a few moments to thank everyone for your continued tithes and gifts to our wonderful spiritual community. We know that we continue all to be prosperous because we continue to give. It shows an understanding, and we know that as we give, so as we receive, we are truly all prosperous. And we'll do our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Yay, God. And we'll have our peace song, and then it's Celebration Sunday.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
So, Celebration Sunday. I'm going to start with how we kind of ended our fellowship as we were beginning. Dave and Kate and Dave Scheel are celebrating their 41st anniversary this month, I do believe. And I don't think they have a speaker or microphone or
Fix it so I can hear it.
camera. So, who else is celebrating something this month?
Dawn is.
Dawn?
Yes, the 18th, Danny and I will be celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary. We've been together 23 years in total. Long time.
Excellent, excellent. I know somebody else is having a birthday this month. Oh, look at it. Ed, don't you go hiding on us.
Oh, Ed, come back. Yay, Ed.
Yes, happy birthday, Ed.
Happy birthday, Ed.
These people were at your party last year. I think they know you have a birthday this
Yeah, we know how old you are.
They do.
That's right.
Yay, Ed.
And we know what you're like when you've had a couple of extra beer too, and he gets really
No, we don't need to
talkative.
hear that. We don't need to hear that now.
No, we're not going to do that.
Good thing you
We
had
love
a
you.
party last year.
Yes.
Hard to have one
Yes.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Greg mentioned before our service that he and Gail are both celebrating birthdays in the next week. So I'm just wondering, what are you doing to celebrate?
Yeah.
Did we mention that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a huge mistake.
We joined a hiking group.
Wonderful.
That was for I said that was for my birthday. Mine's passed.
But I'm joining one as well. There's some great hiking groups around here, so we
Great.
want to get exercising.
Yeah.
So slowly, and I think they
No,
do.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Congratulations. Yes.
You
Thank
put up your hand, I think, where you were waving, yes?
Did you call me?
Yeah, did you? I thought you were saying.
Yes, I was. I was very excited this week because I asked one of my favorite instructors for a class I'm still taking if she would be willing to come and speak at Unity of London, and she said she would. Her name's Reverend Nikki Golden, very
Lovely.
down to earth, And she said she'd be happy to come and speak. So she'll be speaking in October.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So I was very pleased about that.
And we'll all be able to go to that service, won't we, by then?
Yeah. We'll
Well,
see.
Oh,
I don't know.
If
I
not,
mean, she
we'll.
won't be here in person. She lives in North Carolina, but
Okay.
So we'll be watching it from home, or maybe the screen at the at Unity of London. Who knows?
maybe, yeah.
It's
Thank you
all
for
right.
arranging that.
Right now. I see Catherine playing with her
good
fingers.
morning.
Hi,
Morning.
Catherine.
Well, I have 3 things.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I was so addicted to cigarettes that I spent 15 years trying to quit. And I spent more money on quitting than I ever did on smoking. And finally, when I went to the quiet, the silence, and I asked for the help that I needed to love myself just enough to quit smoking, my higher power said, your mother's birthday is coming up, and she had just passed, and she always wanted me to not smoke. So I chose August 1st, and I smoked with impunity June and July. And on August, since August the 1st, so August 1st this month, my mother would have been 100. And I celebrated 28 years free of cigarettes.
Ooh.
Wonderful.
That's just, I've quit a lot of things in my day, but nothing had me like cigarettes. I mean, it was incredible. And the other thing I want to celebrate is that today marks 5 months that we've been quarantining with an absolutely fabulous attitude about it. And to seeing, you know, the excitement and curiosity of children to say, wow, what's happening next? And we just had that conversation again this morning, and I counted the days. It was March the 9th. We were supposed to fly to LA for a 1-week work job. And we had to cancel our flights and everything because we were, you know, cautioned about getting stuck in LA, and we don't know anybody there. So anyway, yeah, 5 months today, and still have that curiosity of what's this really all about? And this is going to turn out way better than anybody could have planned, and it's the whole world. So I just wanted to celebrate that. I'm sure some of you would go, "Freaking mind," but I see it as a very positive thing for global change. I think we can all agree we need. Yeah, that was it. Quit smoking, my mother's 100th birthday.
Oh, okay.
And my mother's been gone for 30 years, so it's probably the first year I've remembered August 1st. I don't get hung up on that kind of stuff. You know? Anyway, I love you guys.
Thanks for sharing, Catherine. Congratulations on all of your quitting and your opening up and moving forward. Anybody else? George, you're celebrating ranges today.
I'm not celebrating, but I am inclined to agree with the comment that we're going through a period right now that I think is really going to prove out something for us.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be something very special developed from all of this. And I think the world is overdue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that most of us would agree consciousness is opening up and we're moving fast.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on for the ride and say, wee!
Oh yeah, and the garden is bearing fruit. We had some yummy tomatoes yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, we've got some pretty plump ones as well. Yep. Well, folks, I'm going to sign off and get ready. I know this party's happening because I looked at the weather and it's going to stop by early